Hello. So, I'm going to try not to ramble too much today because we had far too much rambling last time. In fact, an entire video of rambling, so let's try and keep it quick. Welcome back to another one of the 18th Century Rincewind series. What we're going to be doing this time is we're actually going to make something. Hurrah! We're going to be making the shift. Now this is the foundational garment. It's going to go underneath absolutely everything else. It's like the underwear basically, although I probably will also be wearing underwear, because I'm not that brave. This is going to hopefully be a really simple garment. Everything's going to be cut out of rectangles, so it should be nice and easy to do. Right, so let's get started. This is the design that I've drawn. As you can see, rectangles, triangles, not too difficult. We've got a drawstring on the neck and on each of the sleeves. This is going to give us this lovely ruffly look, and we're going to be able to pull it down so that it fits on the wrists. So let's cut these pieces out. For those of you agonising over the fact that the fabric is really wrinkly and untidy, I can only apologise. This is the only amount of floor space I have, and I'm making do with what I've got. Speaking of which, I'm using cotton rather than the linen which would have been used for an 18th century shift. Again, I kind of just had this cotton lying around, and I am cheap, and linen is not. Alas. Earwax. Okay, I've drawn all the pattern on now. I'm exhausted. And the light is going, so I'm going to stop for the day. But happily, Bernadette Banner has just uploaded her latest video, so I'm going to make myself some crackers, put my blanket on, and watch her video while I cut these pieces out. Anyway, I will see you soon. So at this point I let myself stay up until 2 AM, which is never a good idea. So what you see here is footage of me cutting out my fabric, while having a minor crisis about what I'm doing here on YouTube, even though I've produced a grand total of 1 video. So I don't think I'm going to play you that bit. Instead, let's start pinning those pieces together. Now the eagle-eyed among you may notice that I have actually already done a couple of seams in this shot, but I assure you the pinning was much the same process. Just as painstakingly slow. The most fiddly bit here is the gusset, which is the bit that goes in between the arm and the body. It's a little piece of square fabric there. It's very handy to press the seams as you go with this one, because oh boy, that's going to get complicated. Also very important to very carefully sew so that you leave enough seam allowance, so that when felling the seams later, we're not going to get ourselves into a pickle. Okay, so I have stitched together the entire shift, I have pressed all the seams, and now I'm going to give you a little idea of what I did and why. I haven't got a big enough space to show you the entire shift spread out, but we start from down here. We've got gauze here. If you don't know, gauze are little triangular pieces of fabric inserted into the side of a shift to give it more fullness at the skirt. We've got gussets here. This is going to allow me to lift my arms up without bringing the entire shift up with me, because this bit here is on the bias, which is the diagonal bit of the fabric, which means it's going to stretch more than it would if it was just straight down like this. I haven't cut the neckline out yet, and that kind of The neckline and the sleeves are kind of what I'm worried about because, oh, whoops, I'm worried I'm going to ruin it. But I have just watched a video by Mariah Patty, I hope that's how you pronounce her name, and her video about patterning your own shift has given me the confidence that there seem to be infinitely many ways to do it and loads of different styles, so I'm hoping, however it turns out, it's not going to be terrible. Now we've got to measure and cut out the neckline. I got the measurements for this shift sort of by measuring against myself, and then for some things like the shoulder width and the width of the arm pieces, I doubled them, because that means that when we pull it down with a drawstring, we're going to get a really nice gathered appearance. Now here I'm just using a little pot to round my corners, but you can use whatever you want. It doesn't even have to fit perfectly. It depends on how rounded you want them. So now we get to the element that's going to pull it all together, which is the drawstring. I don't know why I'm holding this. This is going to be the drawstring. But this is going to be the drawstring casing. Now this is just a really long strip of cotton, the same material, cut from the edge. So you can see the selvage just here. That's the edge of the material that doesn't fray. And then this is the bit that I've cut that is fraying. We're going to need to fold that under, and then fill it to the fabric folded like that, and we'll press it so that's a really nice clean finish. But on this side we won't need to fold it at all because this isn't going to fray, and it was common practice to fell selvages without folding them under. So that's one tiny little bit of work less to do, which is great. Now on the design, I've got this ruffle at the top here and a drawstring casing a little below it. But I actually don't think I want that because I want it to be a little bit more utilitarian, because I think even if Rincewind were female, I don't think they would go for the super floofy stuff. I think they would probably be going for the cheaper stuff and for the stuff that was gonna be helpful in not getting in the way and not being unnecessarily floofy. So yeah, we're not going to do this ruffle. What I'm going to do instead is we are going to cover this with this casing like this. And on the inside of this casing, we're going to put in the drawstring, which is just this simple cotton tape. I will cut off a long string of that, enough to go all the way around. That will get caught inside this casing, which will go over here. And then I will poke holes in the front here of the casing with an awl, which you will see anon. And then that will allow the strings to poke through and then draw shut. So yeah, that's the plan. episode of Sadie Acts Without Thinking, I've sewn over half of this entire neckline without even thinking to put the drawstring inside it, which is the entire point of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to finish felling everything and leave a little tiny little gap, and I will just use the little safety pin trick to put my drawstring through. So let's do that. So this is that safety pin trick I was talking about. Although you can't see it, in that little channel there is the safety pin attached to the end of the drawstring, and I'm just squooshing the fabric up and pulling it through to get it to the eyelet hole. And then I've done the same thing with the other side of the drawstring. Perfect! So now I'm going to repeat the exact same process for the sleeves as I just did for the neckline. And then I'm going to fell down all of those seams. This is done in the exact same way that you would do a hem, by folding over the edge and using a whip stitch. And speaking of hems, that's the final thing we've got to do. Oh my god, that took so much longer than I thought it was going to take. Oh my god, I love it so much. I didn't know it was possible to love a few white rectangles this much, but it is, apparently. It's inside out. It's inside out. Honestly, I'm in love. So, proper wrap up rather than just me gushing about my own work, which feels rather big-headed. There were definitely some things that I would probably do differently if I was doing it again. I would probably see if I could find some kind of primary resource on exactly which way all of the seams were felled, because my god, that was complicated to figure out. I think the other thing I would have done differently is I would have been more careful when drawing out my pattern pieces, because I didn't think about the fact that if I did a line wrong in pencil and then did another line, that other line would be on the inside of my garment because it's not lined. Line, 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 line. Too many lines. Oh, something I'm also really pissed off at myself for is I have been so careful to not eat around this thing, but somehow on the top of the sleeve, I don't even know what that is. So I'm really hoping that comes out in the wash. And hopefully the pencil lines will too, but we'll see. I don't know how many times I'm allowed to say I'm so excited throughout this whole project, but let's think of a better word. Okay Google, give me some synonyms for excited, please.
Excited, agitated, delighted, disturbed, eager, enthusiastic, hysterical, nervous, and passionate.
I mean, I'm not quite hysterical, not yet. Let's go for eager. I am so eager to get started with the rest of this because I just think that even if it turns out crap, I am gonna enjoy it so much and I'm gonna love them, all of the garments I make, like they're my own children, and I'm already getting so many ideas for all the different components, so I just need to get it done as quickly as possible so the ideas don't leave my head. I think that's it really. Thank you so much for watching. I have a feeling this was probably quite a long video, much longer than it should have been considering it's just a shift, but I'm so glad you watched and I really hope you stick along for the rest of the journey as well. It's gonna be fun. Bye!